Do you constantly feel like you have to pee even though you really don't? Believe it or not, that's a common issue with kids who have anxiety or OCD. That's what we're talking about. Stay tuned. That's what's up next. Hi, my name is Natasha Daniels. I'm a child therapist and I make videos for kids with anxiety and OCD. Today I want to talk to you about something that is super common but never talked about. The really weird, awkward sensation that you gotta go. People don't really talk about this, and because they don't talk about it, they don't realize that it's a very common issue with kids who have anxiety and OCD. So before I get started, I want to make sure that you've talked to your mom and your dad and you've told them about this problem and they've taken you to the doctor and they've said there's nothing medically going on with your bladder. Once we cleared that up, let's talk about how to get rid of it. So when we have anxiety or OCD, we can get stuck. We can get stuck on almost anything. We can also get stuck on bodily sensations. Anxiety can make you feel nauseous, and then you can get stuck on that feeling of feeling sick. And you can get stuck on the sensation of having to pee. I know this because I have had this experience, and I even have one kid in my house who has dealt with this issue as well. That's how common it is. So your body is hyper-focusing on your bladder. So the bladder is where all our pee goes, right? So let's just pretend this is your bladder. Ta-da! Totally empty, right? And throughout the day, it fills up. The hard part is that when our bladder has a little bit of pee, our anxiety and OCD say that we have a lot of pee. So the problem is, once again, our anxiety and OCD are lying to us, because that is the biggest issue with anxiety and OCD, is that it's a liar. Do you remember that video I made a long time ago about how OCD and anxiety lie to us? Go watch it, because this is just another example of how your anxiety or your OCD is lying to you. Your bladder is always going to be slightly full. It's impossible to keep your cup completely empty because your body is constantly putting fluid in your bladder. But your bladder isn't supposed to empty every time it has a little bit of fluid in it. It's supposed to empty when it's really, really full. But because you are so focused on your bladder, you are feeling this when it's really this. So what are you supposed to do about that? Well, for starters, stop listening to your anxiety and OCD. How often do you go to the bathroom and you feel like, oh my gosh, I really have to go, I really have to go, I really have to go. And then you go and you're like, trickle, trickle, trickle. And you're like, that wasn't a lot of pee for the amount of urgency I felt. I felt like I had to really pee. Well, that's an example of how OCD and anxiety are magnifying the problem for your body. If you think about it, it really makes sense, because both anxiety and OCD give us tons of false alarms. It gives us tons of emergencies that aren't real emergencies. And you probably have other things that you worry about or obsess about that are similar to this in different areas. Now, for some of you, this is just a mild inconvenience. I mean, I have this, and sometimes it's a mild inconvenience. I'll go to the bathroom, and then like 15 minutes later, I'll forget that I went to the bathroom, and I'll go again because my anxiety is giving me a false alarm. But for other people, this can become a really serious problem. They might worry about it all the time. They might go to the bathroom so much that they are constantly in the bathroom, or they might worry about it so much that they're avoiding situations where they feel like they won't be near a bathroom. And that can become a big problem. Now, if, besides the annoying feeling that it gives you, you have other worries around peeing, like you're worried you might have an accident, or you're worried you might be trapped, then you want to go back to my video which talks about how to fight anxiety and OCD thoughts, and you want to fight those thoughts, because those thoughts don't make any sense and you have a bigger issue. If you're worried that you might have an accident, you might have some social anxiety. And so you have two issues combining. You have the sensory motor anxiety that you feel like you have to pee, plus your social anxiety is getting in there and adding its own little theme to the problem. So you want to work on your social anxiety as well. I do have videos on that. You can watch one right here. So just like everything else I tell you when it comes to beating anxiety or OCD, you want to ignore it. You want to do the opposite of it, which means do a pee challenge. So you can do a lot of different things. One, you don't want to go to the bathroom every time your anxiety or OCD is like, pee again, pee again, pee again. Who's in charge? You or your anxiety or OCD? Say, no, I'm sorry, but I just peed. If you're not sure when you last peed, start writing it down for a little while. And don't pee for more than a certain period of time. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you start, and it depends on how bad this issue is for you. Maybe you say, I'm only gonna pee every 2 hours. And so if my body, my anxiety and OCD come knocking and are lying to me and saying, dude, you gotta pee. No, I emptied my cup 10 minutes ago. There is no way that that much pee can be filled back up into that huge cup in 10 minutes. So I'm gonna wait 2 hours and then I will go pee. So you can put time limits on how often you go pee. To begin with, you don't wanna get stuck doing that because that can turn into an issue of its own. But in the beginning, to train your brain to ignore your anxiety or OCD and to listen to you, you can set your own limits. Now that doesn't mean you're not gonna still feel the sensation, but ironically, that sensation will eventually go away when it's being ignored. You could also do a pee challenge. Have a pee contest and say to yourself, I wonder if I can go 4 hours without peeing. That's not gonna hurt your bladder because 4 hours is a normal amount of time to go. Your bladder can actually hold an incredible amount of liquid for an extended period of time before it has to really empty its cup. You have a pretty big pee cup. So train your brain to not listen to your anxiety and OCD, to not listen to the false alarms of your body, and to listen to you because you are in charge. You're doing well, crushing your anxiety and your OCD, and I'll be back next week for another video.